Imagine waking up to realize a single meal cost you $600 million. Not a restaurant, not a tip, not a tasting menu flown in from Tokyo. 2 pizzas. Papa John's. A man is living an ordinary life. A job, a mortgage, a favorite coffee mug on the counter. And every single day, the internet reminds him one decision, made on a random Tuesday in the spring of 2010, is now worth more than most bloodlines will ever see, combined. This isn't a story about a scam, or a hack, or a bet gone wrong. It's a story about a man who did everything right, by the logic of the world he lived in that day. And it cost him a fortune so large, the human brain struggles to process the number. $600 million for pizza. This is the story of Laszlo Hanyecz, the man who bought the most expensive meal in human history and didn't find out until it was far too late. And by the end of this video, you'll understand something uncomfortable. The same trap that caught him is sitting quietly in your life too, disguised as something ordinary. Florida, 2010. The economy is still bleeding from the crash 2 years earlier. Banks have just detonated the global financial system, wiping out savings, foreclosing homes, erasing trust. People are asking a question they never had to ask before. What if the entire system is broken at its foundation? In a quiet house, in front of a humming desktop, sits a programmer named Laszlo Hanyecz. Not a Wall Street trader, not a visionary on a stage, just a guy, sharp, technical, a little obsessive, doing something almost nobody else on Earth is doing. He's mining something called Bitcoin. Say that word on the street in 2010, and people looked at you like you'd spoken in tongues. Not a currency, not an investment, just code. A digital experiment built by a ghost named Satoshi Nakamoto, who published 9 pages, launched the network, and vanished before anyone could ask why. No app, no exchange, no charts. Just the hum of computer fans in empty rooms around the world. Strangers building something together with no idea what it would become. And here's the detail almost nobody remembers. These coins had no price. Not a low price. No price at all. Just numbers on a screen that a few hundred people found interesting. Laszlo wasn't chasing wealth. That word didn't even apply yet. He was hungry. And he had an idea. May 18th, 2010. Laszlo logs onto a forum called Bitcoin Talk and types a post that, even now, reads like a joke history forgot to laugh at. He offers 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. Not because Bitcoin was worthless to him, but because he wanted to prove something bigger than himself. That this digital experiment could reach into the real world. If Bitcoin could buy a pizza, it could buy anything. 4 days pass. Mostly silence. Then a 19-year-old in England named Jeremy Sturdivant, username Jerkos, takes the deal. He doesn't send a pizza himself. He just calls a Papa John's in Jacksonville, Florida, and pays with his own credit card. $41. 2 pizzas, delivered like it was nothing. And in exchange, 10,000 Bitcoin move across the blockchain. Silent, irreversible, recorded forever on a public ledger neither of them understood the permanence of yet. No ceremony, no slow-motion pan, just a man eating pizza in his kitchen, feeling something electric underneath something completely mundane. For the first time in history, a digital currency had crossed from theory into reality. He posted about it proudly. He wasn't hiding it. He was celebrating it. I just proved this thing works. I just made history. He had no idea how right and how catastrophically expensive that feeling would become. And in England, a kid who just made a $41 phone call had no idea either. He was standing on the other side of the most lopsided trade in financial history, and he wasn't the one who lost. Here's where the story stops being charming. Bitcoin didn't stay a toy. It didn't stay worthless. $1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 60,000. 6 numbers, a little over a decade. Somewhere inside that climb, Laszlo's 10,000 Bitcoin quietly crossed $10 million. Then keep going, untouched, belonging to someone else now, permanently, with no way back. Do the math on where it ends, and that $41 order becomes worth over $600 million. Now, imagine being Laszlo, not in the headlines, just at 3 a.m., doing arithmetic he never asked to do, watching a 5-minute decision on an ordinary Tuesday metastasize into the most expensive purchase a human being has ever made. There's no undo button on a blockchain, no customer service line, just the number, growing forever. And here's what should genuinely unsettle you. Laszlo doesn't regret it, not the way you'd expect. He said again and again that he doesn't lose sleep over it, that he was proud to prove Bitcoin could work as real money. But somewhere beneath that calm, there has to be a version of him doing the math one more time. Because that's what $600 million does to a mind. It doesn't just cost you money. It costs you the ability to ever fully stop thinking about it. At today's prices, those 2 pizzas are worth more than the annual revenue of most companies on the planet. For pizza. So what do we actually take from this? First, the danger of instant gratification. Laszlo didn't lose his fortune to a hacker or a scam. He lost it to hunger, the very human need for something now instead of something later. Every time you cash out early, a version of you is doing the math at 3 a.m., wondering what you gave up for a meal you don't even remember eating. Second, recognize disruption when it looks like a toy. Nobody at that Papa John's counter thought they were witnessing history, because the biggest shifts rarely arrive wearing a suit. They arrive looking cheap, stupid, like something only obsessive nerds in dark rooms would waste time on. The internet looked like a toy once too. Third, the will it takes to actually hold. Knowing an asset might be valuable one day isn't the hard part. The hard part is doing nothing. Watching it crash 40% in a week. Watching everyone around you panic and sell. And sitting there, silent, refusing to move. For years, not months. That's psychological warfare against your own worst instincts, fought quietly with no applause for as long as it takes. Diamond hands aren't built in the moment you buy. They're built in the long, boring, uncertain years of silence that follow, when the easiest thing in the world is to fold, and the hardest thing is to simply wait. Laszlo didn't fold. He just spent early. And there's a difference between the two that took the world over a decade to fully understand. Somewhere tonight, a programmer is building something nobody understands yet. A teenager is taking a deal nobody else wants. An investor is holding an asset everyone's telling them to sell. Someone, right now, is making a decision that looks completely ordinary, small, forgettable, no different than buying dinner. And the future is already writing down what it's worth.